Welcome to the Crazy Cool Family Podcast with Don and Suzanne Manning.
A podcast where we share with you great insights about everything family from over 30 years of parenting 7 kids and over a decade of equipping parents through our Crazy Cool Family ministry.
So let us inspire and equip you to build your best family.
Are you looking for an encouraging book to read? We wrote a book called Crazy Cool Family, and it's based on the 30 plus years of parenting from Don and Suzanne Manning. It's about all God has taught them about His heart for relationships. Do you want to read something engaging, funny, and it inspires you to love every person in your family? Then the book Crazy Cool Family is for you. Click the link in the show notes to purchase a copy today.
Welcome to January.
I love January.
Oh, it's almost
best month ever.
Yeah, it's because it's your birthday.
It's my birthday week. Woohoo! It's my birthday week. I love it. Yep. But I love our what we're talking about today on the podcast. We're talking parent to kid. I would say it's one of the relational lines that we love the most. Absolutely,
and one of the ones that every parent can impact greatly.
Oh, for sure.
And also, I ask dads this all the time. It's kind of one of my go-to questions I ask dads. I say, do you want to have a great relationship with your son or daughter?
Mm-hmm.
And I bet I've asked 1,000 dads this questions over the years. And every one of them, I haven't heard one yet say, you know what, no.
Right.
No, right. I don't really want that. I really just want to have an average relationship.
But you've heard them say, yes, but how?
Well, yeah, but the
desperately.
Yes. And but also the sad part about it is that if you really ask, or you view the relationship, they say probably, I would say maybe 15% of it's it's a swag.
All statistics are made up on the spot, so you go for it.
I'm totally making it up. But it's rare that dad says, it's unusual for the dad to say, oh, and I do have a great relationship. Now, they may say the relationship is pretty good, or they may say it, and I think that's with a 9-year-old, it's with a 3-year-old, it's with a 17-year-old. There's all kinds of relationship breakdowns. And
yeah. And so I would even say that as the dad of the 2-year-old, when we were young parents, would you say we had a great relationship with them? Because in my mind, I think even part of that relationship part is we're kind of growing up together.
Yeah, I definitely had a lot to learn. And I would say that my relationship with 2- and 3-year-olds for my 6th kid was different than my
and with your grandkids,
it's
radically different.
Yeah. But so then the question becomes, what do you do? How do you make it happen? What are the keys to having a great relationship? One of the things we say is that we can, it's possible to have a great relationship with every child at every age.
Yeah, and I think that is just to kind of go back to that questioning there of when we were younger parents, maybe we didn't have the best relationship with our kids, but we figured out some things that we did
along the way
so that when we did have our second batch, we had our boys versus our girls when we were young parents versus older parents, and then now grandparents. And so we want to teach you the things that God showed us, that we experimented with, that we experienced with our kids, so that we can say that we have and had and can have a great relationship with all of our kids at all of their ages.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Give that to you.
Yeah, that's another thing to think about as a parent is we want to instill in you is there's always hope. Yeah. There's always hope for the relationship. One of the reasons is because God has hardwired your kids to want to have a good relationship with you. And so if you'll do certain things that will unlock that relationship line, if you will, there's a good chance, again, never a guarantee, but there's a good chance you'll see some breakthroughs.
And the fact that you're even listening to this podcast and that you're wanting to have a great, you're listening to it because the title is, I want to have a great relationship with my kid, but how? And so you're listening to that. And so well done. I'm believing you're going to have a great relationship with your kid.
Yeah.
You do, and you will, and you can. Speaking, past, present, future, let's do it.
So if you want resources on this that we are going to unpack for you today, you can go to our book, has a whole chapter on the parent-to-kid relationship. If you go to our base camp set of courses, there's a whole course on the parent-to-kid relationship. In the guides that we publish now, there's a whole session on the parent-to-kid relationship. And actually, if you buy the guides, then getting into base camp is free, which is usually the route to do it because it's more expensive if you go in through just directly to base camp. But you can do that too if you just want the videos. But there's all kinds of courses and resources that we have, and we're going to kind of summarize that today and talk about some things. But if you want to go in more depth, base camp's there, the guides are there, the book's there. We got all kinds of resources to go deep, deep, deep into the parent-to-kid relationship because it's super important.
Yeah.
And it's like one of those catalysts. It's like a marriage. It's if you do the parent-to-kid relationship right and you know how to invest in your child, then and unlock the relationship with them. One, it's fun. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm about to go skiing with my boys here in a few weeks. We're going to have fun together because the relationships there's a lot of trust built. I mean, it's not perfect, but I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun because we enjoy each other and they feel like they can talk to me. They don't have to hide everything, you know what I mean? And so relationships with your kids are fun. You can have a great relationship with every child at every age. So let's talk about how we can do that.
Okay, well, and then I just want to say that where you are, if you've got a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, on up where you are and you're feeling like I don't have a great relationship with this child right now, but I want to go snow skiing with them, or I want to have girls' weekend, or I want to, I want to be a relational friend with my child when they are older, when they are adults with me. And so I just want to encourage you that it's not too late. It's never too late. And so just right now where you are in the relationship, the things that we're just going to share with you today, start applying them. Yep. As soon as you finish listening to the podcast.
I know there's been seasons of my life with my 7 children where I've not had great relationships. I mean,
right.
All through high school with a couple of them, when they were little with a couple of them. I mean, it's just all kinds of, you've had relational issues, different ages and things. So
for sure,
we've definitely gone through our challenges, but just want to give you hope, man. There's always hope. You can do it. So let's talk about some things.
So we've got four little concepts that we're just going to kind of, once again, just kind of fly over. And if you want to go in depth, we've got resources for you. Like Don said, the book, the workbooks, Base Camp, that you can go do a deep dive in. But the concepts are, the first one is, Don?
Oh, it's acceptance. And the concepts go in order. Order matters. And so as you think about it, it's not, and the first one is acceptance. And so before we dig into other things, because this one's so important, Suzanne, what would you do how would you define acceptance to a parent? Somebody says, well, does that mean I have to let them do whatever they want? What does that mean? What does it really mean?
Do I have to accept their bad behavior?
Yeah, do I have to like them when they're slobs? I mean, what does it mean to accept your kids?
Yeah, so the best way that I can think about it is in Matthew, when Jesus is coming up out of the water, he's being baptized, and God, comes from the heavens, and he says, "This is my son whom I'm loved, with him I'm well pleased." That to me is full and total acceptance. When we turn around and we say to our child, "We claim you, we love you, and we're pleased with you," then we fully and completely are accepting them where they are, even in their mess, in their misbehavior, in their the missed expectations that we have for them.
Yeah, but that was easy for God because Jesus was perfect. He never sinned.
But he'd gotten through toddlerhood and teenagehood.
Yeah, and so
he had gotten through it, and he still said it.
But how do you do it when? And I'll comment on this too. I'm just asking the question to kind of stimulate discussion. How do you accept a kid who's not going down the right path? What does acceptance really look like with our teenagers that are, they're not wanting to make good grades, they're, disobeying, they're, doing all the things, they're throwing fits if they're, at whatever age it is. And so what does acceptance really look like? That's a great statement. And one of the things we tell parents is does your kid believe that?
Yeah.
This is whom I love. This is my son whom I love, and him I'm well pleased. But how do we actually do that while still having high standards for our kids?
I mean, I think I'll answer it and then you can answer it as well. Sounds like you've got something you want to say about that.
No, it's all you. I'm just kidding.
But is we've got to separate the person from the behavior. And so we fully and completely accept the child. We believe that God handpicked us to be the parent of that child, and God's given us everything we need to train that child up in the way that they are going to go. And so if we see that, we see the person, we see the identity, we see who they are, we see their potential, we get to mold and shape that. That's who we're dealing with. That's who we're accepting. We're not accepting the fit on the floor, the slamming of the door, the cussing, the bad grades. We're not accepting the behavior. And so the behavior is what we're going to go after. And we're going to define that. I mean, to get complicated, we're going to define that through our visions. Oh, we're Mannings and we make A's and B's. That's what we do. That's the grades that we make. Or we don't throw fits. Fits are the pits. And so our values are what's going to take care of the behavior. Our identity is going to take care of the person who we're accepting. Anyway, what were you going to say?
I just think that's great. I think it's, we look at God the Father as an example a lot. And, if you look at the God of Scripture, he says, no matter what you do, I'm always going to love you. You are no longer an orphan. You are a child of the King. So I'm going to treat you like a child of the King. I'm going to treat you like I believe in you, and I'm going to treat you. But I'm also going to allow that you make mistakes. And, I think about it more like we are in the position of the father to the 1-year-old, and the 1-year-old falls down when he walks. We don't laugh at him and get on to him. We pick him up and say, "That's great. You did good. How are you gonna walk a little further now?" We and we realize our teenagers are, they're not very smart at times. They're going back into we understand them, and so we call out the best in them while we still accept the worst in them. And I think that's the acceptance is a huge part of relationship. That's why it's in order, and that's why we hammer down on it, because if your child does not feel accepted, they will be fearful of you. They will try things to get your approval. They will become a perfectionist because they think they can never do anything wrong. They never do anything right in your eyes. So acceptance becomes, and it was very hard for me to learn how to accept my kids because I felt like I was giving them a freebie, like I wasn't challenging them enough.
Right.
But in reality, what I learned is that I challenge them through loving them and calling out, so you can even call out the best in them while still, hey, I see where you are, but I believe more for you. I believe you can break through that. But right now I get it that, it's hard. And those are but acceptance is something if you're like me, you struggle with performance and wanting your kids to perform and wanting everybody to see them perform and yet so much of that we let go with acceptance, and it works. It brings great value to our relationships.
And I think that once again, acceptance is the first one, because that's the ground, that's the foundation, that's what everything's built on. Because as you accept your child, that's how they will accept themselves, and that's how they will see how God accepts them. And so it is a pretty heavy concept for us as parents. And so if you're having a hard time accepting yourself, then you might be projecting that even onto your child. And so I just want to encourage you to look in the mirror and say, I love you to yourself, and tell your child, I love you, and to tell your child that you're pleased with them, that you're proud of them, just like God did to Jesus. The same thing is to start saying that to your child and to yourself, to start building that acceptance, because reality is God accepts you right where you are. God accepts your child right where they are. So if God, the creator of the universe, is accepting your child right there in their mess, then how much more should we, who are the hands and feet of God here on earth?
Well, and I'll give you some more motivation, because acceptance leads to the next word, which is connection. And we all want to connect with our kids. We all want our kids to look at us and want to be around us and but so often it doesn't happen at lots of ages because they don't feel accepted.
Right. And so they'll run to their friends because they feel connected and accepted by their friends.
Yeah. And so, if your kids don't want to be around you, chances are there's some acceptance issues there. But then once you break through that acceptance barrier, you start to, and you become somebody they want to connect with. Who wants to connect with someone who's always telling them they're doing something wrong?
Oh, yeah.
And always telling them they're not enough, and always telling them they can do better, even with the best intentions. Well, I love them and I want the best for them. I get it, but you're not very fun to be around.
Exactly.
And so and you don't have to be a fun parent. We're not saying that at all. But
no, we are saying that because children are wired for fun, and so that's one of the ways you can accept them is to see them as a child and embrace and accept their childlikeness.
Yeah, and I'm saying that some people think, oh, I'm not supposed to be a fun parent. I need to, call, and I get that. But you can be engaging. You can still call.
And you can be fun, Don. You were the fun parent.
Don
was the one that was fun. I just
know that parents
only say that. He would come in and I was all grouchy, and he was all, "Let's have some fun. Come on."
That's true. But it's also, I think some parents, when you start talking about fun, they start thinking, well, but I'm just like I did. I'm letting them get away with things, and it's like. It's a different mindset. Connection and acceptance are different than that. And you find out how to bring, maybe a better way, I think, to put it is fun is one thing and fun is great, but how are you bringing life into the situation? How are you bringing, hope into the situation? How do you bring in energy into the situation? That's a lot where acceptance and fun becomes a part of it.
For sure.
There are times that, that we would have fun like that, hey, let's go play. But it's also like, you did a great job with this. We have to clean up the house. Let's make it fun.
Oh, for sure.
Or let's make
it play a game.
It
I still do that even today for myself.
But acceptance the motivation to me, as I learned, is I could see my kids drifting away from me, and I'm like, I have to change that. Acceptance was the key to changing it because I have high standards. And I wanted them to have high standards, and I was trying to get them to have high standards, but I thought I was losing the relationship, and I'm like, something's got to change. And it was acceptance led to the connection. But then, here's what happens. When you do the acceptance connection right, you almost like build this platform.
Yes.
You build a platform of safety, and you build a platform of trust. You build a platform of honor. Mm-hmm. Now you can start to disciple them.
Yeah, and
now they're going to listen to you.
Yeah, and that's different than discipline them. While discipline is good, and we agree with that, and we say all the time we don't want your kids to run around being brats. But even as Don was saying, you don't have to be the fun parent. You don't have to let him get away with murder, is what Don was saying, and that's where the discipline comes in. But what if we were to tell you that you might not even have to discipline your kids if you've got that acceptance built in, you've got that connection built in, because now you can literally disciple them. Discipleship means to speak into their life and to say, hey, buddy, when we were in the store and you threw a big fat fit over the cereal, what was that all about? Do we buy cereal? What kind of cereal do we? Oh, yeah, we don't buy sugary cereal, do we? So what was the point of the fit? And to just be able to talk to them, person to person, kid to kid. And
well, how often? Okay, so let's take it. We said acceptance, connection, discipleship. Okay. So let's say, for example, that you're one that always get on to your kid. And so you feel like, and you have to, because every time you get on to them, they turn away and they don't listen to you. Mm-hmm. Well,
they shut down out of protection. They're protecting
and
their
so
little
what's
heart.
happening is it's not that your discipline is bad, potentially. It's really that the acceptance and connection's not there. So they don't have an open heart to receive it.
Yeah.
So then if the acceptance and connection is there, discipline and discipleship actually becomes so much easier because there's an open heart to receive it. And so you don't have to get on to them as much. How many times what we do is we tell them that they're not any good, and we lecture them a lot, and we repeat our lecture a lot, and then we wonder why they don't want to listen to us and why they turn away from us, because that's who we are.
And I love that. And so, like you said, we tell them that they're not any good. And probably every parent out there is like, I've never told my kid that they're not any good. And while we 100% agree with you, and we didn't either, but know that when you tell your child that what they've done is not any good, then what they hear is, I'm not good. It is just a child thing. They cannot separate they can't separate the action from the person. And so we, as the mature adult, have to say, you I love. I'm so proud of you. You're my son. You did this, but this is what we don't like.
And let me give you an example. Like my son, my oldest son, Michael, he played baseball at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old at a very high level. So they're a high level team. We played. It was a select team, and but there were things that it was bothering me that he wasn't working on, and he needed to improve in order to be his best. So we're sitting in the car, and he's frustrated because he's also not playing he's not playing the position, or he's getting benched some of the times. Now he's remember he's on a high level team. There's 12 guys on the team. Sometimes there's only 9 can play. So I said, well, hey, do you want to play more? Yes, I do. And I said, well, why do you think that you're not playing? Well, I'm missing some ground balls sometimes. Valid. Okay. So I said, but let me tell you something first. Let's talk about, you're at a select level. So you realize that you're a better baseball player than 90% of the kids your age. So see, I'm building that acceptance. I'm building that connection, making sure that he understands. So, a lot of parents would unknowingly go into that. And some of the stuff I didn't know either, but this was my 5th kid.
Yeah.
It had been years of coaching and stuff. And would go in and say, well, you're being lazy. You're not working hard enough.
You're missing those ground balls if they don't know it.
Yeah, and if you want to get better, you're going to have to work harder. Everything I would have said in there was, you're not enough. Not meaning to.
Right.
I would have said, you're not enough, but in reality, I learned a different strategy to go in and say, look, man, you're doing amazing at baseball. And so, but I want to work with you. Now, if you do want to get better at it, definitely need to put some work in, and let's work hard to make that happen. Those are the things we're talking about with acceptance and connection leading to discipleship. Yeah. And then he says, hey, I do want to get better at it. And he did. And he wound up getting more playing time because he decided to work on those things.
Yeah, because you went at it in a way. And so that leads perfectly into the last one, which is, I think, the most exciting one, which is inspiration. In that situation, you inspired Michael to do better. Because there's so many things you could have said that could have shut him down. But instead, you invited him to do better by inspiring him. Hey, listen, you're playing at a super high level and you're doing a great job. Do you want to do more? What does that look like? And so that's what we get to do as parents, is we get to inspire our kids to be the best that they can be. God has given us a beautiful vision for our children. And a lot of the times we lay that out as an expectation. And then when our children don't hit the expectation that's been laid out for them, then we call them out on it instead of calling them up to it and inspiring them to be who God's created them to be. We tell them who they're not and that they're failing at it.
Yeah, I really want to stop down on that for just a minute, because instead of calling them out, we call them up. Instead of telling them who they are not, we tell them who they are and who they can be. And that's where, so acceptance, connection, discipleship, inspiration. Think about it, parents. Let's ask this question as we finish that progression. Are you an inspiring parent right now?
Oh, yeah.
And before you drive off in the ditch because you're mad at yourself or whatever, but it's okay that you're not.
Right.
And, but that's what we want to teach you. We don't expect that any young parent especially knows what to do with that. But but we want to show you some ways to get there. And when you do that, when you become more accepting, when you become more connecting, when you become better at your discipleship and more inspiring, it opens up this pathway of relationship to your kid that is going to really amaze you. And it's over time. It takes, you may have to recover for some things, and that's okay too. But it's amazing over time what that relationship looks like.
Yeah, and so just a couple ideas just flooded to mind of how we inspired, and so I inspired my kids to love sleep. I mean, to love it. Like we would come home on Sundays and take a
Yeah,
nap.
so much so.
Or bedtime.
Almost too much so.
Bedtime. They would love to. I didn't have to fight them to go to bed because I inspired them. Sleep is good. It's good for you. It's when your body heals. The boys, it's like, buddy, you want to sleep because that's when you're going to grow. So you can be a baseball player, a football player, or whatever. So I inspired them to sleep by telling them the advantage of sleep. The same way with brushing their teeth. Oh yes, you want to brush your teeth because to go to the dentist, they have to do there's painful little things that have to happen in there, and you don't want your teeth to be fuzzy. Feel how when they're fuzzy. So I inspired them so that I didn't have to tell them to brush their teeth. I inspired them to eat good for them food. I inspired them to drink water. And so there was a lot of different things in their little daily lives, if you will, that I, instead of telling them to do it, I inspired them to own it so that I never had to tell them to do it again.
Well, and then the benefits of that are, what does a great relationship with your child look like? And as I think through, I'm thinking through 7 kids right now, and I'm thinking, man, that age was tough for that kid, and that age was good, but this one was good. This one was good, and this, there was definitely some seasons, and some of them were not good, and I didn't know it. Because they were, found out later that they really.
I think there's a whole chapter in our book about you and Macy.
Yeah, but a great relationship with your child has some things in it that we think are really important, and there are kind of ways you can judge to see where it is, and one of them is trust. Is there a healthy trust relationship? Does your child come to you and talk about things?
Yeah. And if not, then what would it take for them to do that? It's going to be a self-assessment. You ask yourself, okay, am I safe? Do I freak out when they tell me something? Am I available when they want to tell me something? Because when they want to tell you something, it's not convenient for you. It's late at night. It's when you're busy. It's when you're on the phone. They want your attention when it's not convenient. And so there's going to have to be a little bit of self-sacrifice as us, the parent, if we want to present ourselves in a way so that our children will trust us.
Yeah. Is there laughter and enjoyment in your relationship? Is your relationship characterized by telling them what to do all the time?
Yeah. Do they want to be around you? Do they want to hang out with you? Do they want to invite the friends to your house? Do they want to play with you? One of our daughters, Madeline, she's got 4 little kids, and they follow her everywhere she goes all the time. So she has figured out a way that makes them want to be with her all the time.
Yeah, and just think about maybe for your 2-year-old, are you too busy to sit down and play with them and look them in the eye and watch what they're doing and let them play their way and just, is it, are you willing to sit down and watch a show with your 7-year-old that, and it's so much, those are the things that, is there enjoyment? How do your children perceive you in some way? Mm-hmm. How do they perceive you?
And I want to just encourage those of you that are like, I don't have time to sit there and watch a show with my kid. I don't have time to play with my 2-year-old. I get that. I had 7 of them. I didn't have time to play with them, but I included them in what I was doing. And so if I was cooking dinner, then I would give them a job to do with me. If I was cleaning, then I would just delegate jobs for them to do. So they came along beside me, and they joined in what I was doing. There were times they ran away because I was being a grouch.
and that's okay, too, because if you're pursuing that acceptance and connection, man, you get more leeway to when things don't go well because they see the trajectory of the relationship. That same thing like with honor, is there so often parents and teenagers especially just talk to each other so harshly. And it's like, and so one of the things that I chose to do, I was an angry parent a lot when I was a younger parent. I learned that was very painful, and I really got some good teaching on it. And so I chose to not respond in anger, that yelling at my kids was unacceptable for me, not for them, but for me. But eventually I was able to do that over time and stop yelling and stop being all mad all the time. And then when they threw a fit and started yelling at me, or particularly with Suzanne, I was able to say, look, I don't do that to you. And so you don't get to do that either. And we're going to stop that down right now because that's not something we do in our house. So, but that led them to believe that we were going to honor each other.
For sure.
And so then it eliminated a lot of the harshness in the relationship.
Yeah, and I think honor is a pretty powerful thing that just goes from person to person. I mean, I think that it's a quality that we need to learn for sure when we interact with other people, but it starts at home and how we teach our children to interact with us and with each other. And so I think that's a great place to start. If you're not honoring your child, then you can't really expect them to honor you. Honor your mother and father, and things shall go well with you. But they only learn to honor by what they see. And so they see us honoring or not honoring, and that's what they're going to mirror.
Yeah, and I think it's okay. I'm just thinking back on us raising kids. Certain things were not acceptable for me. And one of them is any kind of harsh word to their sibling or to anybody. Another thing was lying. And so it's okay to have things that when those things happen, you come down and you say, look, we're not going to do that. But a lot of building honor is how you treat them when they do things.
Oh, for sure.
So are you treating them with, like I was just reading a book today and it talked about how this dad had problems with being angry all the time. And he was a good man. He was a good person, but his wife was ready to leave him because she was trying to protect her kids from his anger. Mm-hmm. Okay. So he was righteous in what he was doing. He was getting onto them for the right things, but he was doing it in the wrong way.
Yeah.
And so when he does that, it was almost about to lead to a divorce because the relational issues were so cut off because of the approach of that.
Yeah, that's
so it's
good.
okay to have, what a lot of parents don't understand is they think that relational, when we're all sappy relationally, then that means we don't have any standards. And in reality, what we're going to try to show you is that when you do acceptance and connection, discipleship, inspiration well in the progression of that, you actually get higher standards from your kids, and you actually get them to want to do it. Like Suzanne was saying, she inspired them to brush their teeth. She inspired them to sleep. I inspired them to work out. How about that?
Yes, you did. And they still do to
That's
this day. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so Don, what would you say when you've had parents that have come up to you before and they've just said, okay, where do I start? I've got a bad relationship with this child, or I don't like where this relationship is, or I don't like how I'm interacting with this child. What's something practical you would say to them?
We even have parents of adult kids coming up to us going, man, I wish I would. I don't know how many times I've heard, I wish I would have had this material 20 years ago, 25 years ago, or whatever, because I didn't do this right or whatever. And honestly, we didn't either until we still don't at sometimes. But it's we learned a lot. But I always say, one, go back to it's never too late.
Right.
It's never too late. It's never too late. It's never too late. Be inspired by that. There's always hope. But the other thing is to start with acceptance. Well, and what that means. Hang on, just one more thing, and then I visit. And that starts with acceptance, starts with forgiveness.
Well, I was going to say that's the doorway to get into acceptance, because what has happened is if there wasn't acceptance for so many years along the way, if you're talking about adult children, then to get back to the wounds and the hurt that happened over the years of lack of acceptance, then you have to go through the doorway of forgiveness. And you have to say, will you please forgive me? And you can use the words for not accepting you, for not loving you where you were, for not understanding, for not seeing things from your perspective. You can
say things like, hey, I've always loved you and I've always wanted the best for you, but some of my methods have been a little suspect. Or there may be things that you really, man, I'm sorry that I traveled so much and I wasn't there when you were a kid. I thought this job was the most important thing. Or I'm, as a mom or a dad, you might say, man, I'm sorry that I was distracted by life or whatever. There's so many things that you can ask forgiveness for.
And if you don't know what you need to ask forgiveness for, then pray about it and ask the Holy Spirit. He will bring it to mind. I guarantee every single parent out there, us included, have things that we can ask forgiveness for. I have conversations with my kids all the time, and they will bring something up about their childhood, not even meaning for it to be, Mom, you did this. And the Holy Spirit will say, stop and ask forgiveness right there. And I'll say, oh my gosh, Maddox, I'm so sorry that we, didn't put a boundary up there for you, or we didn't protect you. Oh, Macy, I am so sorry that I didn't hug you tight like you're holding your baby when you threw a fit. And so God reveals that constantly and shows that constantly. So if not only the Holy Spirit, asking the Holy Spirit, but also ask your kids, especially if they're 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and all the way up to adulthood. You can just say, hey, listen, I'm so sorry. Is there anything specific I need to ask forgiveness for? Because I really want to do that, because I want you to know that I accept you, and I want you to know that I want to connect with you more than anything else.
Yeah, and so for so many parents, that means that we have to go back into that progression with God too. We have to go back to God and say, God, I believe that you accept me. I believe that you have forgiven me. I believe that you want to connect with me, because it builds us a base. Because sometimes it's really hard as parents for us to accept. We want to defend ourselves. Well, it was tough. It's like, no, just ask forgiveness. And it can't be, I'll forget. Yeah, I want to ask forgiveness, but man, you were a pill to deal with at that time. That's not it. It's all about what where you could have been better, and just to lay it out on the line. And I think once that happens, once the acceptance happens at any age, now you start to take slow steps into connection. Mm-hmm. So connection, real change takes time. And if you've got years of history built up, real trust takes time. And so, but, just because, you don't go back the next day and you say, hey, I've asked forgiveness. Why aren't we talking again? I mean, it may take months. It may take, years. We've seen kids going back to their parents and really just not being able to be around them for a little while as they heal through the process, and then coming back into the relationship. So just give them space, giving them, but if they see, because they're looking at you like, I don't know about this.
Right.
I don't know if Dad, he's been angry for like 24 years here. Is he really going to change? But then they start to see the cracks in the armor, of hey, real change is happening. And that's when the God-inspired, the desire to be with you will start to kick in.
I love that. That's good. Well, let's give them a couple questions. Just leave them with a few questions to ask yourself, maybe ask your spouse, and to think about it, and to just kind of get you on the pathway of what would it take to have a great relationship with my child.
Oh, I think one of the best ones. We're reading from a little deal here, but
they're actually the discussion questions at the end of the base camp course, and so we don't have to read all of them. But pick your favorite.
I'm going to pick my favorite. It's is that
don't pick my favorite.
It's how does God see your child?
Yes.
And how does that differ from how you see them? Mm-hmm. That's convicting to me right now. I need to go think about that a little bit, because seeing how God loves your child and created them, and versus how we see them right now, that's a thought. That's very thought provoking. What's your favorite?
Yeah.
Was that your favorite? Did I pick your favorite?
Well, yeah, that one, because it's how does God see your child? I just think that's the perfect. It's to put those glasses on. That is a great application in every situation. To put how does God see my child right now? In the good things, is God's pleased? In the not so good things, God's pleased. And so I love that filter, if you will, the glasses of, how does God see my child? But then I guess another one that I would say is, what does a great parent to kid relationship look like to you? So how would you and your spouse define a great relationship with each one of your children? Maybe it doesn't have the things acceptance, connections, discipleship. Maybe it has teaching and training, and maybe you've got some other words that you want to use when it comes to having a great relationship with your child. Because guess what? You know your child best. You know how to connect to your child best. You know what your child needs to feel and be accepted by you.
I have another favorite.
Oh, okay. You can have another one.
Well, it's kind of related. The other one is like we talked about, how does God see your child? And a corollary question there is, think about how each of your kids is unique. That and so part of accepting them, I think a big deal in acceptance is celebrating the uniqueness of your child, because so often we've got kids that, they don't look as good as another kid does, in our opinion, or they're not as good an athlete, or
they're not interested in the things we're interested in, and so we
they're
can't
interested in
relate
really
to
weird
them.
things that we don't understand, and so but just man, and that is a great way to build acceptance, is to find even the quirky things about your kid and go,
Yes.
I love it.
that about
I love
you.
that you are like this. I love it that,
Yes.
so often the world is beating them up, and they're coming home and they got freckles, or they got something that, they're doing something, and you go, man, you know what? God made that exactly the way he wanted to. And I just love it about you, because your opinion of them, they're coming to you with these problems, seeing how you think about it. And if you agree with the world, then they're going to get beat up even more by it. But if you can say, hey, that's not you.
Yeah.
It's not who you are. God's made you smart. He's made you, whatever it is. He's made you talented.
Yeah. So what if I wish that you could put your grandparent eyes on, because there's been so many times that our kids have been like, Mom or Dad, what do I do with that? What do I do with that behavior? What do I do with that? And I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? That is incredible. That is darling. I mean, Selah walks with this little sassy walk that is just to die for. I mean, and
She's one.
Yeah, she's one. And so there's all these different things that are, there's persistence, and there's, just all these qualities that they are exhibiting, that their parents are like, what do I do with that? And I was like, oh, you enjoy that. You embrace that. You love that. You thank the Lord that they're set apart, that they're different. My kids are looking at me like I'm crazy. Mom, that's really hard. And I'm like, oh yeah, but that's wonderful. I didn't do that when I was a first-time parent. So I wish for you that you could take a step back and see your children through your grandparenting lens, if you will, because just know that God's doing a work in their little lives. He's doing a work in their character. He's doing a work in their actions and their behavior. And they're going to mess up just like we messed up. And we can train and guide and teach and mold and do all the things. But God's got them.
And here's how we'll wrap up, is God gives you a lot of, and your kids give you a lot of leeway for error in all of what we're talking about, because they're resilient. They want a relationship with you. God wants you to have a great relationship with them. So wherever you are, but even with that, so that's true. And what's also true is that if you think about those things which come directly from our relationship with God, acceptance, connection, he wants to disciple us. Hebrews talks about how he disciplines those he loves. And he wants to inspire us. He wants to draw out our hearts. He wants to give us identity and purpose.
Breathe life into, inspire.
Exactly. And so, and if you'll do those things in order, acceptance, connection, discipleship, inspiration, you'll be amazed over time at what unlocks. And relationships are messy, and they have ups and downs. But over time, I just believe that every parent can have a great relationship with every child. And that no pressure, but we actually control a lot of that. We actually have a lot of influence.
All the pressure. You're the adult.
So, parent to kid, we hope that's been enlightening to you.
Yeah, so fun.
It's been a great podcast. We hope you get inspired.
Yep.
To go connect with your kids.
Yep.
So as always, we say crazy things here about connecting and about relationships, because that's what God says. So go be crazy. crazycoolfamily.com.